Welcome to Unlocking Mental Wellness, Self Care Secrets and Coping Strategies for Teachers and Beyond. We have my dear friend Nicole Van Vellen, who's a mental health expert, who's going to share all of the secrets that she knows about how to be well. Now, you wonder what is How Right Now? How Right Now is an evidence based campaign that was actually designed by Newark University of Chicago and with the support of the CDC Foundation and Opioid Agency and myself are partners in promoting this campaign. And it's all about K through 12 teachers and school staff. They have so much that they have to do on their day to day, and the stress and anxiety of all of the complications that are a result of COVID-19. We all know what those are, right? So, we're trying to help them to build resilience, coping strategies, so that they can have overall wellness because they are so deserving of it. So, I would love to just welcome you. Nicole, thank you so much for being here. I love for us to just jump into this conversation.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be here.
Oh my goodness. So tell me, we are often raised in cultures that really feel like mental health is a taboo, even just bringing it up, right? And so I wonder, how can we think about mental health and mental illness in a more accurate and helpful way?
That's a wonderful question. And I'm from the Caribbean, so I understand the stigma related to mental health. And a lot of it stems from not understanding what it really means. Some people could be fearful from it, or they may have experienced a loved one or family member that may have had a mental health diagnosis and don't fully understand the depth of it. So with stigma, what helps with that is awareness, is really understanding what mental health and well-being is all about. So it could stem from someone having a severe mental health disorder. And that's what people tend to think about when they think of mental health. So they go to the extremes where it's major depressive disorder or psychosis or things like that. However, mental health is on a spectrum. So it could be severe or there could be adjustments. A life change or a challenge happening in someone's life. And it's just a different way of thinking. So when we think of mental health overall, we're looking at someone's overall health and well being, and it's not the extremes. So we just need to think about whatever type of changes that we may be going through. The big one is COVID. We just all went through COVID, and people had a lot of stress and anxiety going through that type of the pandemic, and it's still lingering on and on. So stigma is kind of lessened slightly because people are more apt to talk about, I'm feeling really stressed today, I'm feeling depressed today. However, we still need to have a better understanding of what that really means and what level of spectrum that it falls under.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that because I clearly recall like we had a neighbor whose son was actually in a mental care facility, and the way that we would hear other people just kind of talk about it or reference it, it was kind of like it was this really really bad thing. And so as I have, matured and have, dealt with my own anxiety and stresses and things like that, I mean, it's not really like something that is a taboo. Like everybody experiences whether, one way or another, like you said, from different ends of the spectrum. Yes, I may not have to be, committed to a facility to get support, but I may struggle with just getting out of the bed, especially during the winter time, because I suffer from the winter blues. And
Mm.
so I think it's really key to just kind of think about it in terms of wellness. If I had to like pick away, and I like to reference it as health harmony or life harmony, because everything that you do can cause stress, and it could be good stress and it could be bad stress, right? And so it's just really about how you cope with it, how you respond to it. I mean, because I know I talk with a lot of my friends who are public speakers, and they go, well, I get stressed or nervous every time I get on the stage, but then there's this other energy that comes from that stress, right? That gives them a boost after they're actually finished with their work. So it's all about dealing with it and channeling it and looking at it from a more positive perspective.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you brought that up because you gave that example of someone going into an institution. And when you think about that, it's just really taking a respite from the chaos and what's going on in the world around you. So they just needed to put themselves in a different type of environment so that they could get their energy back, so that they can have the space to grow and to be themselves again before
Mhm.
going back in to the landscape of where they were before. So when you think about that, we all need some type of respite. We get that every night when we go to sleep. That's why sleep is so important for your mental health and well-being. So just
Mhm.
think about it as you're taking a break. Some people need a larger amount of support when they're taking that break. And some people may just need a good night's sleep. So it's along that spectrum.
Yes, I like the way that you put that. Just a respite. Yes. I like to take rests out to the hammock. Oh my gosh, all the time. It's like, oh, I just need some fresh air.
Exactly. Get some sun on your face and that changes your mood. There are just so many different things that we can do. And they seem so subtle, but they
Mhm.
actually put us into a different mindset. So even if you just take 3 deep breaths, like you would never imagine just closing your eyes if you can, or if you're actually in a meeting, you can do that type of thing without anybody even knowing that you're having a heightened level of stress in that moment. And you can
Mhm.
take deep breaths. No one has to know, only you. And then you come out feeling even more refreshed. So there are a lot of different things we can do along the way.
Yes. Now tell me, what is the one thing related to mental health that you would recommend for teachers? The one thing that you maybe, is very helpful for overall wellness.
The one thing, and people are really surprised when I say this, it is to make joy in your life a deliberate part of your life, where the things that brought you joy you continue to do them or you rediscover doing them because it gives you that sense of energy. So when you think about teachers, a lot of teachers go into the profession just like therapists, like myself. You go into that profession because you want to help people. You want to uplift the students. And some of that is a part of the joy that you have in your life. So it's almost like rekindling that joy
Mhm.
and making sure that that's there to light your energy and your motivation to do the things that you need to do in your life. So that's what I built my 3 stages along your resilience journey on, is starting out with awareness, understanding what's stressing you, and then also understanding what are the things that bring you joy. And some people are saying, oh well, that can seem really frivolous to just find your joy and then poof, everything is amazing. However,
Mhm.
if you prioritize it, you make it really important part of your life. You put it on your calendar to go outside and lay on the hammock for 15 minutes, and you
Mhm.
schedule that in your day, then you'll find that you are lighter, you have more joy, you have more energy to then go back into the landscape where you are. And if that's in a school setting, like many teachers, and depending on what level you're at, elementary, middle, or high school, that can be kind of stressful for the students and then also for the teachers that are trying to help the students. So if you're coming in more joyful because you've experienced something that you enjoy, you have then the bandwidth and in a positive state of mind to get into the work that you're doing and help yourself and the students around you meet your goals.
Yes. Now, I don't know. There's some habits that I have like created in my life to try to carve out that harmony. For one, if I'm like really interested in my work, I don't know, it's something about when you're find your purpose and you have that passion for it, you just keep going and going and going. But then the downside to that is trying to unplug and stop so you can rest. So I struggle with this. And so what I will do is, of course, when my husband, he'll just like say, "Okay, I'm going to bed. I'm leaving you down here." And then at some point, like, I can feel that I'm tired, but because I'm really into what I'm doing, I don't wanna stop. And so I'll take a moment and then I'll say to myself, okay, this is where I'm going to stop. I'm going to do this one last thing and then I'm going to stop. Now, if that one last thing just keeps dreading on, then I have to just have the self discipline to like just back up away from the desk. But then I'm so ramped up and in my mind trying to finish it. So then it's like, okay, what do I do? So, what I've found is that having an Epsom salt bath with lavender in it will definitely do the trick because as soon as I get out of that hot water and I've had that lavender experience, when I go to the bed, then I'm a little bit more drained and like, oh, okay. And I can just let go, relax, and go to sleep. Now, there are other times when I'm like, okay, I need to just feel invigorated in the morning. I'm a water baby, so I love to swim. And if I need a real break and just to like kind of shed some of the stress, I would just take a shower, which is why I really love the fact that we get to work from home. Because at any moment, if I'm too stressed, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a shower because it's something about the water and the therapy of the water that really just resonates with me and kind of gives me some sort of zen. And so it's like you said, you have to explore and figure out what is that one thing that you can do that will help you to decompress and get you into the space that you need to be for to find that harmony.
And I completely understand what you're talking about when you're just so passionate about what you're doing. You want to, have it end to end completed. And for me, my golden doodle, Layla, she will come and poke me on the leg with her nose and it's time for her walk. So that's how I know it's about 5:30. And
Mhm.
and she's so cute. And so you don't want to, disappoint little Layla. So I don't want to, but I get up and it forces me to go outside in the sun, walk around the neighborhood, meet my neighbors, to have conversation. And then when I come back, I'm like you, I loved my shower. I will take my beautiful shower. And after that, I'm kind of decompressed from there. And then I'm ready to go into my next phase of my life and with the family and dinner and all of those types of things.
Mhm.
What I found has helped me, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I want to finish this, this, and this, and I have all of these thoughts, is just keeping a notebook.
Mhm.
And I will jot down so I get it out of my head and onto paper. And then it'll be there for me the next day because the work's not going away and I have the time. And I'm actually in charge of my schedule. So, and I'm always giving myself these deadlines and I'm saying, oh my gosh, I can move this. It's not like a hard core deadline at this time. So that has actually worked for me is even at night when I'm trying to sleep and sometimes your mind is just all of these thoughts are coming in, just jotting it down and then it's out of your hands, out of your head. And then you can pick that paper up tomorrow. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't really even need to do that. Whatever
Yes.
I
Oh
thought
my
I needed to
gosh.
do.
You are so right. I know I have like all these tabs open at one time and I'm like, I can't close my computer down. And then so I'll go through and start closing them down and take down a note of which ones I need to go back to that are really a priority versus just taking up space. So you are so right. It's almost like you have to have this forced recomposition or something in the middle of your workday just to kind of keep you going. And then I just think about like with the school teachers, especially, they have so many demands coming from every different way, not only from the students, but then from the parents, then from administrators, then their peers, and then their personal. So it's really hard to feel like, okay, I can prioritize myself because they do have so many demands.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, when you were saying that, this is my visualization as you were saying all the demands. So I see this teacher, a beautiful teacher, and inside of a bubble, and then all of these different demands from different people um, around them. But that bubble that's around them is their resilience force, basically. And that's where they get to do that thing that they enjoy to re energize themselves, whether it's taking a shower, going for a walk, deep breaths, journaling, gratitude journal, whatever that is that rejuvenates you, they need to have that protective space. So
mhm.
one, they can be aware of what's going on. Two, that they can re-energize themselves. And then three, they then have the bandwidth to go outside of that bubble and deal with and add positive impact to all of the different asks of them because they have the energy to do it. If they don't go, if they're on a plane and the mask comes down first, it says to put it on you first before putting it on anyone else. If you don't
Mhm.
put the mask on yourself first and you try to help all of these areas, you're going to be depleted and you won't help anyone. So it's substantial, highly important that people and teachers especially, because they have so many asks of them at the same time, to take that moment to take care of themselves first.
Mhm.
And it's not selfish to do it. It's
Mhm.
actually you'll be able to give more if you kind of slow down, take a step back, so that you can then go faster to help others around you.
So I have a question for you now,
Mhm.
Nicole,
Yes.
because we're saying that
Hmm.
it's easier said than done. And it took some time to get here to the point where I was able to not feel guilty, where I was able to put it on the calendar and like really stick to it and to really have that awareness. So, what are some of the things that you have noticed within your own personal routines that helped you to get to that point? I had a lot of my husband coaching and telling me, look, you need to give me some time, or you need to take time for yourself. And but everybody doesn't have that. And so what are some suggestions or recommendations that you have?
Okay, so I'm giving you recommendations from my own experiences, like you asked, because I was at a place where I was burnt out, completely stressed, um, and I was trying to be everything and everyone. I was trying to be everything to everyone,
Mhm.
and I thought that that was good. I was kind
Mhm.
of raised that way,
Mhm.
When I look at my mom and the other women in my family, they kind of did it all. They worked, they took care of the kids, the family, all of these things. So I was kind of brought up in that mindset that I need to be on and available, and I kind of put myself on the back burner.
Mhm.
What has helped me tremendously, I can say one, looking at other people's examples of how they manage their days. So one of the things, and you talked about your husband, what worked for me is my husband follows the full focus planner. And it's a planner that I use, and it organizes my life because it gives you like yearly goals, quarterly goals, monthly goals, weekly, daily. And it gives me a list of space to write the tasks that I need to do each day.
Mhm.
And what I do is I color code things. And this is how I discovered that I was off balance with things. So
Mm.
most of the things when I was writing in, I worked in corporate. So everything having to do with my corporate role was in black. I wrote in black. Anything that had to do with me, I wrote in pink because that's my favorite
I
color.
was thinking pink too. That would be my color.
My husband's favorite color is purple, so anything having to do with him was purple. My extended family was red. The kids were light blue. Like I had everything color coded. And when I looked at my book, when I first started, everything was black.
Mm.
Everything was about my corporate job. That's where I got the most of my stress from. And then over time, um, I started to see more pink, more take a walk outside, more I want to take salsa classes. So researching salsa class. So over time, it was a process. And it started with the awareness. It started with an action. Then it started with me reflecting
Mhm.
and seeing I was giving all of myself to my job. There was hardly any purple for my husband,
Mhm.
hardly any blues for the kids, a little bit of red for my extended family, like parents and siblings. So that's when it was in, I want to say black and white on paper showing me. So then I
Mhm.
needed to actually sit back and say, what do I even like? You know, I was so engrossed in work. And it
Mhm.
took me some time to actually figure it out. So, initially it was, I really like a nice hot cup of chai tea.
Mhm.
So that was my thing. And I wrote in my weekly that I will, at the end of my day, drink chai tea.
Mhm.
Then we got the dog. So, walk Layla, which I put in purple because my husband and I would walk Layla around the neighborhood, and that was my quality time with him. So I didn't have all of the answers of what to do, but I just took time to be aware of what I was doing. Like I found out that I was stressed. I had that realization, and family members kind of let you know.
Mhm.
And then I made a conscious effort to say, I want more pink on this page. I love myself enough to have more pink on the page, and no one's going to be at a detriment if I give myself that time. One of the things that worked for me too was when I got off work before the dog, I needed the 15 minutes for chai tea
Mhm.
where I just told my family, I work at home, so I just want to walk from my office to the kitchen, not talk to anyone. I love you all. Make my chai tea. I don't want to have to make tea for anybody else. And I want to be able to come back into my office or go outside and drink that tea for 15 minutes. I just need 15 minutes. And you
Mhm.
know what? They respected my boundary and gave me, or I took that 15 minutes, and then I was refreshed. And then I could go out and figure out, okay, what are we going to eat for dinner, or what are we doing, or who needs help with this or that. So I come to this to say it's a journey. And
Mhm.
sometimes you don't even know what you enjoy, but that's
Mhm.
part of the joy of this new journey of figuring that out. Some people, when I give presentations, they were like me. They're like, I love strategy. I love work. That's my joy. And in the back
Mhm.
of my mind, I'm like, maybe we should think of some other things. I
Mhm.
had one CEO say, you know what? I used to draw all the time. And my daughter, who's 5, she loves art. I think I'm going to take her to an art class, and we're going to do that together. I'm going to carve out time to
Mhm.
spend time with her and do an activity together that we both enjoy.
Mhm.
But it took time for people to actually discover that and jot it down and make a list and actually have a menu of options of things you can do when you're stressed. So you are pre-planning.
Mhm.
You're being preventative. So you don't have to um work your mind so much when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm aware that I'm feeling stressed, or I'm feeling like I'm on the brink of burnout, but I feel like I need to keep pushing through. And there's that list in front of you, and you say, you know what? I love myself enough to take 3 deep breaths.
Mhm.
I love myself enough to go out in the back garden and smell a rose, because that's what I do. You know what and
Mhm.
so it doesn't have to be, you talk about swimming. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to go swim 25 laps or something that takes a long period of time, unless that's what you really enjoy. It can
Right.
be something that's short, or you put it in to say, I love golf. I'm going to go and give myself a tea time, or I'm going to go to give myself the driving range time. And then you put it down, but then we actually have to go. That's,
Mm.
that's another hard
Yeah.
part.
So then you have to find an accountability partner, right?
I have many accountability partners. Would you? I have about 3 accountability partners. I just picked up a new one.
Okay.
And they're holding me accountable in different areas. Um, you know, so that it's a remarkable when you tell someone you're going to do something, or you write it down in your planner
Mhm.
that you're going to do something. And if you see yourself moving it, because it tells you to put an arrow if you're going to move it to another day or later, and you keep putting that arrow forward, that's something that you really need to pay attention to.
Mm.
And a lot of times people may put the arrow next to going to my doctor's appointment, going to the dentist, like the
Mhm.
basic things to make sure that your overall well being is intact as a whole person.
Mhm.
We really need to pay attention to that. Not only what about our mind and what we're feeding our mind, but what are we feeding our body? How are we exercising our body or moving our body? How are we communicating with others? What are we listening to? Um, we want to have that harmoniousness all around us.
Mhm.
And that kind of ignites the joy to propel us forward as well.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Where monitor the arrows when you're reassigning it to a different time. I love that. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah.
Now, I am not going to dismiss at all that being a teacher or school staff member is not a stressful job. I know it's stressful. I feel like it's very important though, because there are a lot of children who really need teachers. And so
Mhm.
that makes me think about what you said about, taking care of yourself first. I really, really believe deep down in my soul and my spirit and heart with everything that if teachers do not take care of themselves, then they won't be able to show up for little me's, or little
Mm.
Nicole's. And that's really important. And I wonder because we all have stress, but how do you know if you are having elevated levels of stress or anxiety or sadness where you might actually need some help from a mental health professional or maybe borderline mental health disorder? Um, Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so it's not black and white like I like to say because every person, every individual is different.
Hmm.
So what we should do is kind of monitor and notice any changes. So if you're thinking about yourself or if it's a loved one that you care about, you want to see if you notice any change. So if there's someone or you notice if let's say for myself, people always say you're bubbly and you always have a smile on your face. And
Hmm.
then if I tend to change and it's over a certain amount of time, like consistently for a week, I am not my bubbly self. I am not smiling. And it's not meant that I must be happy and smiling all the time because no one does that. But if it's
Right.
out of the norm where it's recognizable, that's when you need to pay attention, you know, and say if a loved one, you notice that in a loved one, you might ask the question, oh, I noticed that, and whatever that change is there anything I can help you with? Or do you need support with something? And you might ask an open-ended question and
Hmm.
see what that person's comfort level is. And they might say, oh, I had a change at work and it's been on my mind and things like that. So that's how you know something is more subtle and it's not a major mental health concern. It's more of an adjustment. So it's a mild adjustment to a change or a challenge that's going on in that particular person's life. So like number one thing is everyone's different. They show different signs, but the main thing is if you notice something substantially different, they could be going through some type of adjustment, and you just want to ask open-ended questions so that they feel safe enough because they may not even be aware
Hmm.
of how they're presenting, and then they can say, oh yeah, well, I'm going through such and such, if they feel comfortable sharing it with you. um, if someone is demonstrating extreme behaviors to the point where it's affecting their normal daily functioning. So if someone is not sleeping for 3 days consecutively,
Hmm.
that's a sign that their stress or depression or what have you, whatever that could be, is affecting their daily life, where they're not able to get out of bed, they're not able to go to work, or it could be this anxiety is so stressful that they feel like they can't go outside of their house. So when you know it's to the extreme, it's something that is stopping you from the basic necessities, eating, sleeping, hygiene and getting ready during the day, on overall, like it's going on for several weeks. It's not like they're on vacation, they're having a staycation at home and they decide that I can be in my pajamas. It doesn't matter what's
Right.
going on. But no,
Hmm.
this is something that's stopping you from working, eating, sleeping, the basic things. Um, So that's kind of how you know if it's something that's mild, or if it's something that's a little bit more serious. So if it's mild, you can talk to family members, loved ones, and kind of talk things through. If it's more on the serious side where it's affecting daily functioning, if you're a parent and you're neglecting your children because of it, then we might want to get some more expert opinion,
Hmm.
um, to get more help. They need more of a respite, more support around wrapping around them to kind of help lift them out of whatever's going on or help them manage whatever's going on so that they can function appropriately during their day.
Wow, that's really good insight because it's kind of hard to tell if you don't know already. And sometimes we, think that we're worse than we are or we're not as bad as we are. So, it could fall either way. Now, if we're looking for support and help, what are some of the things that we need to consider? I'm a huge proponent of therapy, by the way. So
Mhm.
I started therapy when I was in college and it was much needed. And so I just knew that, okay, I need some help with this because I'm just dealing with this and I can't seem to shake it, get it off my mind. And so I was able to, get through some of the trauma that I had experienced as a child. And so if we're just thinking in terms of, we might want to get some help, are there some things that we need to consider? Do these folks need to look like us? Do they need to be opposite of us? What are some of the things that we need to be on the lookout for?
I think the main thing is finding a professional is the main thing, and someone that you feel comfortable with. So just like you're trying to find a primary care doctor, it's kind of the same process. So if you feel like okay, something's going on, I want to speak with someone.
Hmm.
Um, you could ask your primary doc. Well, you can go through insurance if you want it to be the most cost effective way to find a therapist or a mental health professional. So then you
Hmm.
would just go to your insurance, they would have a list of providers that you can contact that's in your area, and some you can go into the office, and some there's teletherapy or through video. Ever since COVID, now that's more prevalent, there are apps as well. So there are all of these different mechanisms and tools to help people at the level that they want to receive their help. So that is one thing. If you're not sure who you should speak with, you can always call a hotline, and this hotline, the number is 988. It's a new hotline number that you can just dial that number. It takes you to a crisis hotline. And I know crisis sounds a little scary,
Hmm.
but this is where you can speak with a licensed clinician. If you have any questions, you can ask them, and they will provide resources for you. And also, you can call if you have a family member or a friend that you think is going through something and you don't know how to address it yourself,
Hmm.
and you don't know how to do that in a safe way. You can call that same 988 number. It's a national number, and you can get some coaching from a licensed clinician on how to help another. That could be even for teachers, it could be a resource as well. If a teacher thinks that whether it's themselves that are going through something, or if they sense that a student is going through something and they're not sure how to address that, they can
Hmm.
call that number as well and get some guidance. So I always think support and along with awareness is the most important thing. And you want to get that information from a place that's tried and true. So a lot of people may Google, but you don't know what information you're going to get when you Google. We
Hmm.
really want to make sure that you're getting expert advice and opinions to steer you in the right direction, because there's so many different types of therapy. There could be family therapy, there could be cognitive behavioral therapy, which both are wonderful.
Hmm.
But depending on the circumstances that you're going through, you may want to go with one or another. And I tell people, if you go to one and it doesn't work out, it wasn't a good fit, don't give up on yourself. There
Hmm.
are many, many therapists. There are a lot of opportunities. And if you feel like, I want someone that looks like me or sounds like me, or I want someone at the same age or older, or I want someone with more experience or um, not as much experience. Like the gamut is there. So you have the opportunity to choose from a diverse pool of therapists. Um, and you go with the one that you feel the most comfortable with. Not the You don't want to say, I don't want to be with this person because they're pushing me to, better myself and open my mindset. You don't want to just be like, no, I don't like them, because they're actually helping you. But if
Mhm.
you're uncomfortable for any reason, you can always change. You're not stuck with one therapist.
Okay, yes, that's really important that you mentioned that. And that brings me right to the How Right Now campaign, which is evidence-based campaign that has really taken a strong and closer look at exactly what teachers and school staff are experiencing when it comes to being in the classroom and stress and anxiety, dealing with and coping with grief and loss and all those types of things. And if you go to cdcfoundation.org/, how right now, there are a ton of mental health related resources available to you. So, anything from tips to improving your emotional well being, taking care of your body, suicide and crisis lifeline, which are all very confidential, by the way. So, 24/7, 365 days a year, you can contact this dial in number to get support either via call or text. And it's what Nicole mentioned, 988. And then you could also chat live with at 988 lifeline.org. And then, of course, there are a ton of other Mental Health America resources. So that includes directories of mental health services providers, what type of mental health provider you should see, and then tips in choosing a provider and where to start. So there is a lot of help out there. You just got to want to do it, go find it, seek it out, and know that there is always hope, and look at things from an optimistic perspective and way, and you will be really well. So I am so excited that you came on and shared all of your good knowledge and insights, Nicole. Thank you so much for being here. How can people follow you online?
Online, you can go to keeninsights.com. That's my website. And if you
Uh-huh.
want to get in contact with me, there's a little button on the site where it says contact me. And then reach out to me and let me know. I'm also on LinkedIn under Nicole Van Vallen. You can search me there. And we also have Keen Insights as well on LinkedIn. So those tend to be my go-to places. And you can follow me on LinkedIn as well. I post a lot of good information on mental health and resilience there as well. And it's all about empowering you from insights to action and in bettering your life.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We wish you nothing but love, health, and harmony. Thank you so much for joining us today.